Oh, hi. You just caught me searching for a new lightsaber to buy. Because, of course, I need some more. But the ultimate question is, where should you buy a lightsaber from? There are so many companies out there and so many different things to look through. I thought I'd give you a video to give you my 2 cents on the best places to buy. Hello there, welcome to Fulcrum and the Force. I'm Jim, and this is my channel dedicated to everything Star Wars. Now, as you know, I buy a lot of lightsabers, and I do get a lot of questions all the time. Where should I buy my lightsaber from? Is this a good company? What's the deal with this? How does this work? So I thought people really enjoyed my last, what is video, what is a lightsaber, all the ins and outs. So I thought I'd do a where to buy lightsaber video. Now, this is quite a difficult thing to talk about because there are so many companies out there. Not only that, there are so many levels in which you can buy at that it does make things very confusing. So I thought I'd break it down into 3 simple parts. What's technically known as entry-level sabers, then you've got high-end sabers, and then you've got the ones slightly in between, sort of, they vary, but that are bespoke sabersmiths. Try saying that a few times fast. I have. It's not easy. There are a lot of things in between all of these, but I want to keep it sort of straightforward, and I want to talk about some of the companies of each of these, just to kind of give you an idea of what you should be looking for. So let's start with the first one, which people call entry level. I like to call great sabers on a wallet friendly budget, because they're great sabers and they're wallet friendly. The main ones of these will be ones that you've seen everywhere. They're on all the searches. They're promoted by everybody. These are normally Nexus/TXQ lightsabers. These are produced in China. One of them by a company called Nexus, one of them by a company called TXQ, and then they are sold on to the public in 2 main ways. One of that is being reselling, and the other one is drop shipping. I'm going to quickly talk about the difference between those two because it's actually very important. The point of a reseller is they buy the sabers from the company in China themselves. They get the stock in. They then sell them on to you. Now, I will talk about a couple of lightsaber companies that do that and do that very well. The first one is obviously going to be Padawan Outpost. They're my friends. They're amazing. They are a company that buys these in and then resells them out to you. Then over in America, you've got Dark Wolf, which do the same thing. They buy them in and then they sell them on to you. So those two are 2 really good resellers of Nexus lightsabers. Now, currently in the UK, we don't have any TXQ resellers. There are a lot of drop shippers. So let me just explain to you what a drop shipper is. For me, personally, I'm not a fan of drop shippers. I think they are a big problem in this community. I don't like that term. In this whole thing, I find them to be not all the time, quite often disingenuous. Because essentially what a drop shipper is instead of buying the stock and keeping the stock themselves to sell on to you, which is the same as what any company does, they buy it from a wholesaler, they then sell it on, reseller. A drop shipper won't have any stock. A drop shipper will essentially, you place an order with them, they place the order direct with the company, and the company sends you the saber. So all they've done is place the order with the company. And then the company has sent that to you. So they quite often mark up their stuff. So they are getting quite a lot of money for essentially just ordering direct with the supplier instead of you ordering direct with the supplier. Or indeed ordering direct with AliExpress, because a lot of these sabers are available on AliExpress. The problem with that, and the problem with drop shippers, is there is no customer service and there is no recourse, if you wish. If there's a problem with your saber, your drop shipper, they don't really have anything to do with that. They've not ever even seen the Saber, so they won't know if there's anything wrong with it. They won't have held it. They won't have looked through it. They won't have done any QC at all. That's all done there and sent straight to you. Same thing with AliExpress. And AliExpress, if you've ever tried getting any kind of refund from them, it's a nightmare. And there's no customer service. And that's kind of the same thing with drop shippers. They are essentially just a middleman that just place an order for you. I'm not saying every single drop shipper is the same, but as a rule, as a 8 out of 10 rule, I would say steer clear of drop shippers. Definitely stick with resellers. Now, how can you tell the difference between a reseller and a drop shipper? Is the question I hear you ask, and that's a very good question. What I found, again, a lot of this is broad. So there can be exceptions. There's exceptions to every single rule in this. But what I found is resellers, good resellers, you always know who you're buying from. You always see a face behind them. You always see them talking. Like, there's customer service there. And if you go to Comic-Cons, you'll see them reselling at Comic-Con. You know, you will see these people in reality. Quite often drop shippers, there's no face, there's no people. It's just a company name and you'll never see who's behind it because they don't want you to know who they are in case there's a problem. Because then, you know, they'd have to deal with it and they don't want to have to deal with it. Like I said, not always the case. I will get comments saying so-and-so is good and so-and-so, and that's great. If any of you out there are like, I've used this company and they're great. And when I say use this company, I don't mean for just one off because anyone can get lucky once. 3-4 times and you've had great customer service every single time, then you know they're a good company. So if you're like, this company's good, by all means, drop it in the comments because it's really good to get people knowing the good ones and also knowing the bad ones. Now, I do want to talk about 2 companies that I would steer clear of. One is going to be super obvious to everybody watching this video and everybody in the entire lightsaber world. Steer clear of DX Sabers. They will come for me if they hear this. They are not fans of mine at all. And the feeling's mutual. They are terrible. Their customer service is awful. They're just really bad. They're just like, you won't ever get what you've paid for. So don't ever use them. Absolute terrible. And the other company I keep an eye on, not for the same sort of reasons, but actually is Tatooine Lightsabers. The markup on Tatooine Lightsabers is insane. They are a Nexus reseller, but I've seen them selling lightsabers for 3 times the amount of other companies. So, and I see that across the board with all their lightsabers. They've also stole things from other creators, including myself. They've stolen some of my photos that I've taken and just put them on their website. That seems a little icky, if you wish. So I would steer clear of them too. It can be very difficult because there are a lot of YouTubers, TikTokers, influencers out there that are promoting these companies. So I want to touch on that a little bit. I don't want to go too crazy into this because I don't want to talk about the other types of sabers and the other places to buy. But I do want to talk about the information or sometimes the misinformation that you can get from influencers. Now, I've made it a rule on my channel that I will only ever review a lightsaber of a company that I've already been a customer of. So you will see that I review a lot of Padawan Outpost lightsabers. I review a lot of Force Sabers lightsabers. Now, I am very lucky in the fact that they do send a lot of these sabers to me to review, and then I send them back to them. Now, I was a customer first with both of those companies. I bought countless of sabers off of Padawan Outpost, countless of sabers off of Force Sabers, and that's how I became good friends with both of those companies and the people. Jazz and Dave from Padawan Outpost and Ben over at Force Sabers. I became really good friends with them because I'm a customer. I was a customer first. And so I feel okay in promoting them as a company and showing you stuff that I haven't necessarily bought because I know that the customer service is there. I'm very pro Padawan Outpost. Obviously, I've worked for them, but that means that I know what they do and how they work. And I've seen it myself. And I mean, thousands upon thousands of people can contest to how great they are. So I have no problem reviewing more of their sabers, even though I haven't necessarily bought them. Because also they've always said to me, Jim, be honest in your reviews. If there's something you don't like, by all means say it. Because that's what a good company does so that they can get better. Force Sabers is a great example of this because I've always been 100% honest with my reviews, and Ben has always expected me to. And because of my honesty, he's been able to improve his lightsabers. Now, I will get to Force Sabers in a bit and talk about them as a company. But that's the point. That I think is key. When you're doing a review, you have to be honest. You have to say, this is good, this isn't good, this is rubbish. Because that's how companies get better, and that's how you give an honest review. The problem is, sometimes when people are sent sabers for free by companies, they then just say how great everything is. And it's just like, well, first off, nothing is always fantastic, right? There's always little things. And secondly, that's not a review of the company. That's a review of a saber that you've been sent for free. That's why I won't ever do reviews of companies that just want to send me sabers for free that I've never dealt with on a customer level. I have had a few reach out to me and say, can we send you this to review on your channel? And I'm like, no, because I've never bought from you. So anything I say would be disingenuous. Because I'm like, I don't know the customer service. I don't know the customer relation in all of this. Influencers, hate that term, YouTubers, TikTokers will always get preferential treatment. So it's just like, of course, Saber's going to come and it's going to look fantastic and it's going to come really, really quickly. But that's not a review. That's a paid ad, essentially. And that's not something I'm comfortable with. It's not something I do. Not saying that everybody else shouldn't be doing that. Like, everybody picks and chooses to do what they want to do. And that's totally cool with me. Like, I'm not having a go at any YouTubers at all that do that. I'm like, you know what? It's great content, and the one thing we always need is new content. But for me, it doesn't sit right if I don't know the company well. So for me, I'm like, nah, you're good. And quite often you'll see what will happen is you'll see a bunch of reviews of the same saber from the same company. And that's what's happened is this company's reached out and sent them to this person for free, sent them to another person for free, and all you get is how great they are. That's not an honest review. I'm sorry, but it's not. That's a paid advert. So that's something that if you ever come to my channel and you see a review, it's not a paid advert. I will be honest. I will always tell the truth and say how I feel about these sabers and say what can be improved, because only by saying what can be improved can things actually change and do get better. And that's just the way that I deal with it. But yeah, no shade on anybody else that does it in a different way. We'll do our things how we do them, and that's cool too. But it's just something to keep an eye on. Like, if you see the same company and the same sabers running around and like 15 to 20 people are reviewing the same sabers at the same time, yeah, just bear that in mind. That's all I'll say. And TikTok, I wouldn't use TikTok as a way to see reviews. Ads, great. Reviews, not so much. Go to YouTube, search out, not just me, there's plenty of really, really, really good lightsaber YouTubers out there that do fantastic work. Sems Nerd, Stony Magnum, two that instantly spring to mind because they're my friends and they're very good at what they do. So that's something I would look out for, because that is in the realms of Nexus, TXQ, reviews, influencers, that whole business. Now, I will show you a couple of sabers from Padawan Outpost. Like I said, I'm super biased towards them. I'm always going to be, because they're great and their sabers are lush. This is a fingerprint magnet. I've used it a lot. That's what you want to see on a lightsaber as far as I'm concerned. A lightsaber like this. So obviously, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi's from the Kenobi show. This is from Padawan Outpost. And then also, so this is the same sort of thing that you would get from Dark Wolf. And then here is my Kanan. This is a Kanan V1. The V2's just come out, and there will be a review of it coming soon. I do actually that one will be mine. So there's Kanan's, but this is the sort of thing you're looking at when you're buying from a Nexus TXQ reseller. These are the sorts of things that you're getting, and they're great. You just need to pick the right reseller. Like I say, in the UK, for me, there's no one better than Padawan Outpost. There are plenty of really good resellers in the UK. ES Sabers is a great one. They do something different as well. And then there are plenty of others. I literally can't list them all. And then over in America, if you want them a bit quicker, Padawan Outpost do ship worldwide, so everywhere can get them. But if you want them a bit quicker because you're based in the States, head over to Dark Wolf, because Johnny over there is also great, and he's got the same stuff, and sometimes a few things a little bit different as well. So it's always worth keeping an eye on these two companies to see what new stuff they've got. But those are two guaranteed great companies. You can't go wrong with either of those if you're looking for Nexus Sabers. Like I said, TXQ currently doesn't have a proper reseller in the UK. There's a ton of dropshippers. If you want to deal with a dropshipper, by all means, go ahead. It's not my thing, and it's not something I'd personally recommend. But, you know, there have been plenty of people that are like, these are good. So take that as you wish. Next up, we're going to head into high-end sabers. Now, if you're ready to be like, I'm about to drop some cash and I want something that looks super nice, my two companies that I would always go to for these are, first and foremost, KR Sabers. Obviously, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, KR Sabers is probably the best. Probably. Not even probably. In my opinion, KR Sabers is the best at high end. And then at a similar sort of level, you've got Saber Trio. Now, I've never actually bought a Saber from Saber Trio. I do own two, but I've never bought from them. But I'm happy to say that these are a good company, because I have many friends that have bought from them and have nothing but great things to say about Saber Trio. So I'm comfortable enough to say this is a good company. Buy from. I'd happily buy from them. It's one of those things where they sell out really quickly because their sabers are so good, and I always seem to miss out. And also they're a good chunk of change. You know, you are talking in the sort of 600 to 800 range for both of these. So you are starting to get up there in price. Now, let's have a quick look at a couple of sabers from them. Here is my Eco Hero from KR Sabers. This, Luke, Return of the Jedi, is my holy grail lightsaber. This is it. This is the best, in my opinion, Luke lightsaber that there is. And I love it. So that's from KR Sabers. And then here, I'm going to butcher this name, but we have the Airn from Saber Trio, looking all lush as well. Now, like I said, I've never bought from Saber Trio. This was actually gifted to me by my good friend Paul, the Island Jedi, because he's one of the best people I know, and he knows how much I love this saber, and he was just like, and he's got like 7 of them, so he was just like, hey Jim, have this. I mean, at Star Wars Celebration as well, it was just like incredible. But this is a Saber Trio. They look lovely. They sound incredible. But here are your sort of high-end sabers. Now, also with high-end, quite a lot of the time you can buy high-end sabers that are empty, and then you go ahead and you have to get them installed. Now, if you want, I can actually do an entire video on really good installers, because I've worked with a few now. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments if you're like top 5 installers or something like that. I could definitely do that video for sure. But high end, there are other companies out there. There are companies that I probably wouldn't touch personally. I wouldn't go anywhere near Vader's Vault. Just not that their product's bad, but their wait times are ridiculous at this point. You should not be waiting 2 years for a lightsaber. Just saying. So Saber Trio, KR Sabers, perfect sort of places to go with your high end. So now, kind of in the same sort of vein, but on the little bit cheaper side, you can find a lot of sabersmiths. sabersmiths. Now, what is a sabersmith, you ask? A sabersmith is someone who makes their sabers by hand, normally individually, not run off on a massive machine, not done loads and loads at a time, but very much built, installed, and sold. Chaos Sabers can be classed as a sabersmith because he does make all of his pieces, but quite often you have to send them out to then get installed. So I'm talking about sabersmiths that do everything, that you can buy a bespoke saber from them, fully installed. And these guys, for me, Chaos sits there with them, are the unsung heroes of this, because they're the ones that put in the time, the energy, and the passion for lightsabers to make them as good as they can be with their own hands. And I want to talk about two companies that I personally have bought from that I am super happy with. The first one is going to come to as no surprise to anyone, and that is Force Sabers UK. This here is the Valkyrie. It's the first ever Force Sabers lightsaber I bought, and it's what made me fall in love with their sabers. These are all handmade. If you head over to the Force Sabers YouTube page, you can see him making these, which is incredible. So every single one of them is made one at a time, individually. So even if you got two of these, they wouldn't be exactly the same because things always change when you're doing stuff by hand. And that's what's amazing about them. And then, again, no surprise to anyone, AZ Sabers. And this is my Vendari. AZ Sabers, this saber was built in collaboration with Stony Magnum, my guy. And this is a beautiful saber, and this is done very, very small runs, like basically to order, essentially, and installed however you pick like all the elements to it and how you want it installed, CFX, Profi, whatever, and then it comes to you. But they only do small runs of individual sabers at a time. So I think they've got this one currently and the other one, which I cannot remember the name. But I will put a link to all of these companies down below so you can check out their amazing work. But the Vendari is I mean, it's essentially my favorite lightsaber. I can't even lie. It's beautiful. It's lovely. Check out my review on that if you want to know more about how much I love it. But those are sabersmiths. Those are the companies that you go to and you buy one-offs or you buy small limited runs, all installed. Now, for me, sabersmiths are the unsung heroes in all of this. They're the ones that spend the time to make these things by hand and put all their love and energy into it. And they're kind of being lost in this sea of mass-produced sabers. Now, don't get me wrong. I think mass-produced sabers have their place. Absolutely, I do. I've bought plenty of them, and I will buy more in the future. But I do also think that we're currently at the point where there's so many resellers, there are so many drop shippers that even them are beginning to kind of lose control of how everything's going. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's maybe not, a lot of companies out there that maybe not as good as they should be. And it's to detriment of the really, really good companies, because there is definitely space for resellers and for sabersmiths to work in the same place, because people that buy in one and people that buy in the other, you know, if you're people like me, you buy both, but there's quite a lot of people that would be like, you know what, I'd rather have something like this than something like this. And that's okay. Or if you're like, I'd rather something like this than something like this, that's okay. There is room for both of these sorts of things in the market, but the problem is there are too many resellers of these and too many that aren't that great, and the entire market is just being absolutely flooded with these sabers, and people are missing the really good reselling companies, and then B, also they're missing the really good sabersmiths. And I think that has to be key of all of this, is if you want something different, if you want something bespoke, if you want something handmade, find a sabersmith that you like. Again, if you know a really, really good sabersmith, mention it in the comments below, because there are plenty of them. I could sit here and do a list of all of them. I just wanted to highlight like two of each sort of place, because otherwise this video will go on for 4 hours and I'll be just running off lists. So there are definitely other places that are just as good as the 6 companies I've mentioned. But I think a lot of the sabersmiths are getting lost, and a lot of the sabersmiths, unfortunately, due to this, are going out of business, and that's a really sad thing because they're the ones that really put their heart and soul into building these things, and I think it's very important that we support our sabersmiths. We lost Revan Sabers, which is actually the company that made these 2 sabers. They're one of ones. Those are the only 2 of those that exist in this entire country. So, but unfortunately, they went out of business because they weren't getting the sales that they needed. And I don't like to see that. And I know that it's sort of knocking on the door of a lot of sabersmiths at the moment, and it's really sad. So, bearing in mind that these particular sabersmiths and these lightsabers, price-wise, about the same as these. So, you can get yourself like a bespoke saber that's been hand-built for the same price as you can get one of the mass-produced ones. I'm not saying you have to pick one over the other. I'm saying get both. Because that's what I've done. So I hope this video helped in some way. It's not complete by any means. There are tons of good companies out there. I just wanted to highlight some that I truly believe in as a customer, more than a YouTube reviewer, as a customer. That's my key in all of this. I don't want to sit here and tell you to go to this place and buy a lightsaber if you're going to have a bad experience. That doesn't sit right with me. I'm only going to tell you to go to this place because I've had a great experience with them, and I know you will too. That for me is why I wanted to highlight some of these companies and the things to look out for and the places to steer clear of, and little things like that. Like I said, if you want me to do a breakdown of installers, like top 5 installers, I can. I've been thinking actually about doing a tour of all my lightsabers. It might be a bit of a big video, so maybe I'll break it down into like a tour of like my Padawan Outpost sabers and my Force sabers. Or maybe I'll just do a full tour of every single one of my sabers. It would take a while, but it could be fun. Let me know if you'd like to see that down below. Don't forget to do the whole like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss the notification, because we got more stuff coming up. Loads of new, different stuff that's also... I will constantly be doing lightsaber reviews, obviously, but I am enjoying doing other bits and pieces at the same time as well. So look for all these types of videos coming. It doesn't slow down here at Fulcrum and the Force. It just keeps going. But I hope that helped. If you want any more information about anything I've said, by all means, head over to my Instagram at Fulcrum Force and send me a message, and I'm happy to talk through with anybody. People that have messaged me before and asked me questions, I'm happy to answer any questions you have in the best way that I can. So yeah, until next time, don't forget, we are one with the Force, and the Force is with us.